Hello. Good evening. Now, I'm delivering today's session with my rose in my hair. My daughter told me I have to, so I've got. Now, we were doing Mr. Pent's balls. David Walliams, world's worst teachers. We're on the last bit tonight. So, if you remember yesterday, all the students were out in the courtyards pretending to play ball games, but without any balls. So, Mr. Pent exploded like an angry volcano. His face went fiery red. Steam came out of his ears. His eyes boiled in his head. Balls! 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 He kept shouting over and over again before he managed to bellow, "What is the meaning of this?" "What is the meaning of what, sir?" asked Rebel innocently as she sidled up to him. "The entire school is playing with..." He could barely bring himself to say the B word. Balls! "I know, Mr. Pent, sir. It's absolutely terrible that everyone would disregard your rules." I know. Can they not read the signs? There, and there." The teacher began manically pointing at the hundreds of signs he'd put up all over the playground. "Balls are forbidden. No balls." "Maybe you need to put up more signs," suggested Rebel with a smirk. No, he thundered. "These nasty little wretches have seen my signs. It's just that today I can't spot a single ball." "Balls!" "You what, sir?" Rebel did her best look of incredulity. "Where are the balls?" "You mean to say you can't see any?" she asked, mock innocently. "No," he boomed. "That's very strange, because there are balls absolutely everywhere, sir." "Balls? Where?" he demanded. See? There's Rebel. She's tricking him. "Look, sir, there's one," she said, pointing at anything. Nothing. Pent's piercing eyes followed her finger. "I can't see any balls." "And another. And another. Oh, and another." "Balls! Balls! Balls! Where? Where?" There, she replied. "The balls are just going so fast that they're all a bit of a blur. If you chase after them, I'm sure you'll catch one." Mr. Pent passed his leather briefcase to the girl and took a deep breath. "Hold this," he ordered. "With pleasure, sir." The teacher then began charging around the playground, bellowing, "Balls!" 2-0, called out one kid. "Out!" shouted another. "Strike!" yelled a third. Mr. Pent was like a dog chasing his own tail. He went left, he went right, he went forward, and he went backwards. He spun round and round and round in circles. He even leapt in the air to intercept an imaginary ball. Ha! Then slid to the ground to stop another one from rolling. Oof! He leapt onto a ping-pong table to stop a third. Duh! The table couldn't take his weight and it broke. Crunch! And tumbled to the ground, taking Mr. Pent with it. Thud. Now he was rolling around on the ground. "Balls, balls, balls, balls," he began muttering to himself over and over as if he'd gone bananas. "Balls, balls, 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 balls." The bell rang for the end of lunchtime. Ring! Trying desperately to stifle their giggles. All the kids began packing up their imaginary balls before dashing off to their lessons. "Goodbye, sir," called out Rebel. "Hope you finally find your balls." This caused fits of giggles from the kids. Balls, 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 balls. he carried on muttering. A window opened at the top of the school building and Mrs. Stade poked her head out and shouted, "Pent!" "Yes, Balls. I mean, headmistress," he called back up from the playground. "I don't pay you good money to lie on the ground. Up, man! Up! Up! Up!" Mr. Pent scrambled to his feet. "I'm so sorry, headmistress. Balls!" "I should hope so. Now off to your lesson at once and stop saying balls." "Balls! I mean, yes, balls!" All the kids had pressed their faces up against the windows and were looking out with wide-eyed delight. It was time for phase 2 of their plan. As a still dizzy Mr. Pent wobbled through the empty playground, Rebel gave the order. "Now!" From out of the windows of the school building, all the kids started throwing balls that they'd secretly smuggled into school this morning. Footballs, basketballs, tennis balls, ping-pong balls, softballs and every type of ball you could think of landed in the playground. Boing, boing, boing. They bounced all around Mr. Pent. Some even bobbed off his head. Boink, boink, boink. "Balls!" he bellowed. Mr. Pent thought he might be seeing things as he reached out to grab them. "Balls! Balls! Balls!" He caught some in his hands, but there were far too many for him to hold. With a look of glee on his face, he began stuffing the balls about his person. Footballs were squeezed down his trousers, tennis balls up his jumper, cricket balls under his arm, a basketball under his chin, and a dozen ping-pong balls in his mouth. Looking as if he'd been inflated, Mr. Pent waddled across the playground. "Balls, balls, 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 balls," he kept repeating to himself as he hurried into the school building. The teacher was, of course, heading to his special cupboard where he kept all the confiscated balls under lock and key. The cupboard was already jam-packed with balls, and poor round-headed Roland, who was still stuffed in there. Rat-a-tat-tat. "Help! Let me out! It's been 2 days and all I've had to eat is a mouldy old tennis ball," cried the boy. Mr. Pent fumbled for his key and opened the door. "Oh, thank goodness!" exclaimed Roland. "You're letting me out." "No," snapped Pent. "I'm putting more in. Balls!" Just managing to hold Roland and the wall of balls back, Pent stuffed more and more in. Balls, 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 balls. Now the cupboard was full to bursting. As all the kids popped their heads round the classroom door to watch, Mr. Pent put his back up against the cupboard and he pushed to close it. It took all his might. He went, "Oh!" When he finally managed to close the door and lock them in, the teacher smiled gleefully. "Balls," he said to himself. All of a sudden, the cupboard strained with the pressure. "Creak!" "Sir?" called out Rebel from a doorway. "Balls? I mean, what?" "Just one more, sir." With that, she rolled a giant beach ball towards him. "Trundle." She's pushing a giant beach ball. Eagerly, Mr. Pent pounced on it. "Balls! Got you!" He then unlocked the cupboard door so he could imprison the last one like all the others. This would prove to be a mistake. As soon as he unlocked the door, thousands of balls and Roland burst out. Boom! It was a tidal wave of balls. Mr. Pent was swept off his feet. The kids closed the classroom doors and watched through the glass as their teacher was carried along the corridor. Roland managed to leap on top of some lockers. He was safe. Thud. "Hooray!" shouted all the kids. "It's been 2 days. I really need the loo," said the boy as the teacher rushed past him. Whoosh! "Balls!" screamed Pent. The balls washed him down the stairs, through the doors and out into the playground. "Help!" screamed Pent. The whole school looked on from the main building, but there was nothing they could do. "Balls!" bawled Mr. Pent as he swept out through the school gates. He rolled down the road and all the way out of town. The balls rolled into the distance, taking Mr. Pent with them. The maths teacher was never seen again. From that day on, the pupils at St. Aub's were happy that they could play all the ball games they liked. But they also felt sad. Why? Because they really missed winding up their teacher. After all, why else do you go to school? There's Rebel. That's the end of Mr. Pent. Thank you for listening. Take my flower. Night night. Have a good night's sleep. We'll see you tomorrow for a new teacher story. I hope that you are all well and being super helpful at home. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Night night.